Not even her dog. It's my dog! She's taking my dog!
Since I was a kid, I always loved Lee Marvin. The Dirty Dozen, The Big Red One, and The Professionals are some of my absolute favorites. Although Marvin played the part of a soldier perfectly, I didn't realize until later in life that he was actually a World War II hero, having served with the United States Marines in the Pacific. Unlike other celebrities who served during the war out of harm's way, Marvin was just another face and served in one of the most dangerous units in the USMC. This is his incredible story. Lee Marvin was born on February 19, 1924 in New York City. He and his brother Robert, who later became an artist and teacher, were the children of Lamont Marvin, a decorated Army captain from World War I and an advertising executive, and Courtney Marvin, a fashion writer and beauty consultant. Lamont was a gun collector and taught his sons how to handle firearms. When Lamont became the advertising manager for the Florida Citrus Commission in 1940, it was decided that Lee should enroll at St. Leo's Preparatory School, located near Dade City, Florida. The lean, athletic youth disliked it as much as he had other schools, though he excelled in track and field. In his spare time, he hunted feral pigs in the woods near the campus using a bamboo spear. He was expelled just before graduation for repeatedly disregarding school rules, and subsequently attended a different high school for 3 years before dropping out. By this time, America was at war, and the restless rebel had made up his mind. He wanted to join the Marine Corps. "I knew I was going to be killed," the fatalistic Lee said. "I just wanted to die in the very best outfit. There's the regular Army and the Marine Corps. I figured on the first-class kind and enlisted." His father was thrilled and chose to join the war effort himself. At 51, he re-enlisted in the Army and was deployed to England, where he assisted in establishing anti-aircraft gun emplacements that successfully destroyed several German V-1 rockets in 1944-45. Lamont emerged from the war as a staff sergeant, having received numerous decorations for his service. After his brother joined the Army Air Forces, 18-year-old Lee enlisted in the Marine Corps in New York on August 12, 1942. He completed basic training at the Parris Island Recruit Depot in South Carolina and the Marine Base in New River, North Carolina. He excelled in boot camp and, due to his father's influence, qualified as a sharpshooter, missing expert status by just 1 point. He was promoted to corporal at New River and assigned to a service company at Camp Elliott near San Diego, California, where he received training in demolitions. Although he excelled in combat training, he remained rebellious, leading to some minor disciplinary issues that resulted in a reduction to private status, confinement to barracks, and a month of mess duties. Frustrated and eager for action, his opportunity finally arrived when he was assigned to D Company of the 4th Tank Battalion, 4th Marine Division. The Scout Sniper Unit, which was soon reclassified as a reconnaissance outfit, departed for the Pacific Theater in January 1944 to participate in Operation Flintlock, the invasion of the Marshall Islands by Major General Holland M. Howland Mad Smith's 5th Amphibious Corps and the Army troops of Major General Charles H. Corlitt's 7th Infantry Division. The Marshall Islands consist of a vast chain of 32 atolls, including 2 significant Japanese bases, Kwajalein and Eniwetok. Marvin's position as a scout sniper with the reconnaissance company of the 24th Marine Regiment was a better fit for his personality than the strict discipline of other units. In this role, rank and regulations took a back seat with a focus on physical ability, independence, and camaraderie. On the night before the invasion, early on Tuesday, February 1, 1944, Marvin and his fellow Marines paddled in small rubber boats to reconnoiter Kwajalein. His first experience with the chaos of combat was quite shocking. If you came under fire, you were supposed to throw a poncho over your head, pull out a blue flashlight, and mark an X on the map indicating where the fire was coming from, he recalled. But I don't think anyone actually used a poncho, and no one fired back either. Once you shot, you were as good as dead. Of course, we'd all get completely lost and confused. The next morning, if you made it that far, the sun would rise to reveal the entire U.S. Navy out there, since it was D-Day. They would be shelling your position, assuming anyone they saw was Japanese, with no one to correct them. It was sheer chaos, caught in the crossfire from both friends and enemies. Eventually, you'd have to swim out to a reef and pray, hoping against hope that someone was listening. The Marines took control of Kwajalein on February 4th, and later that month, Marvin participated in further action. He and his fellow Marines conducted reconnaissance at Eniwetok, ahead of the landings by Marine and Army forces on Engebe and Perry Islands on February 18th to 19th. Marvin's luck held through several additional missions before he was sent to Maui, Hawaii for leave. Following additional training, he was assigned to I Company of the 3rd Battalion, 24th Marine Regiment. His next destination would be Saipan in the Marianas, a 70-square-mile island needed as a forward base for B-29 heavy bomber raids against Japan. On the morning of Thursday, June 15, 1944, General Smith's 2nd and 4th Marine Divisions, supported by the 1st Provisional Marine Brigade, began landing. 2 days later, they were reinforced by Major General Ralph C. Smith's 27th Infantry Division. Saipan was heavily defended by 32,000 Japanese troops, and the month-long campaign proved to be both bitter and costly. After landing on Yellow Beach 2, Marvin and his company crawled through the brush and into vast cane fields, where thousands of sticks topped with sake bottles were scattered. Marvin thought they were being used as insulators for downed wires, but he was mistaken. They were actually artillery markers. They had us perfectly pinpointed on a checkerboard, he recalled. They didn't miss. The artillery became intense, and the bombing was coming down heavily. As casualties began to rise, Marvin and the remaining members of his unit pressed on and found refuge in a long trench. By the end of the day, he estimated that the Marines and the enemy were just 30 yards apart. After suffering further losses that first night, I Company advanced toward Aslito Airfield, which was ultimately captured by the 165th Infantry Regiment, a unit from the New York National Guard, and renamed Isole Field. After becoming pinned down and incurring more casualties, Marvin's company was withdrawn. On Sunday, June 18th, the 4th day of the campaign, I Company moved into Death Valley. Their objective was the 50-foot limestone Mount Tapachao, an extinct volcano. However, the company was ambushed before they could begin their ascent, with shell fire from 27 Japanese positions raining down on the Marines. In just 15 minutes, the company was reduced from 247 men to 6. It was just decimation, said Marvin, one of the few survivors. Marvin's luck finally ran out, and he was hit by an enemy machine gun round, ripping through his lower back, narrowly missing the spinal cord and severing his sciatic nerve. It tore a sizable hole in Marvin's backside. "I'm hit," he called out. Another leatherneck shouted, "Shut up, we're all hit," Marvin said later. "There are two prominent parts of your body in view to the enemy when you flatten out, your head and your butt. If you present the first, you get killed. If you raise the other, you get wounded. I was alive and still had my .45 automatic, which gave me some blast if I needed it." Marvin was given a shot of morphine and was stretchered with the other wounded men. While waiting to be evacuated, a captured Japanese ammunition dump 150 yards away exploded. The blast blew Marvin off his stretcher, and he landed squarely on his lacerated behind. As the wounded were transported back to the beach, Marvin and another soldier were placed in a jeep. The vehicle set off but accidentally headed into enemy territory. The driver quickly realized the error and made a swift turn to return to the beach. That night, Marvin was loaded onto a passing landing craft and taken to the hospital ship USS Solace. After 6 months of combat, during which he assaulted 21 enemy-held beaches from Kwajalein to Saipan, the war was finally over for him, and he was safe. However, he wept for those who were not, and would experience nightmares for the rest of his life. Marvin spent the next 13 months in naval hospitals. While at a hospital on Guadalcanal, he was awarded the Purple Heart and later received a Presidential Unit Citation, a letter of commendation with ribbon, and campaign medals. At the Boston Naval Hospital, he learned that he had narrowly avoided permanent paralysis. He was discharged on July 24, 1945, at the Philadelphia Marine Barracks, receiving a modest disability pension. Marvin was soon reunited with his father and brother when they returned from Europe. Like many veterans coming home, the three men felt bewildered and depressed. A few months later, Lamont, who had served in both World Wars, experienced a total breakdown. Meanwhile, Courtney Marvin decided to leave her career and relocated the family to a new home in the small town of Woodstock, New York. After unsuccessfully trying to rejoin the Marine Corps, Marvin took on various odd jobs and became a plumber's assistant. It was a modest lifestyle, but it eventually paved the way for a new career. A local doctor, who became friends with the veteran who mowed his lawn, invited him on fishing trips. During one of these outings, Marvin met the manager of Woodstock's Maverick Theater. While working on a clogged toilet at the theater one day, he was drawn in by the lively atmosphere of a summer stock rehearsal. He found the camaraderie and tension reminiscent of his Marine days. The director had asked the theater manager to find a tall, boisterous man to step in for a sick actor, and Marvin was given the small role. With the aid of the GI Bill of Rights, he studied at the American Theater Wing in New York and from 1948 to 1950 played minor roles off-Broadway, on live TV, and in repertory. In 1967, Marvin delivered one of his finest leading performances in the box office success, The Dirty Dozen. Alongside former Marines Robert Ryan and Robert Webber, Navy veteran Ernest Borgnine, and ex-B-29 tail gunner Charles Bronson, Marvin took on the role of the tough Major John Reisman. The film received 4 Oscar nominations. In Samuel Fuller's The Big Red One, 1980, Marvin played a sergeant and World War I veteran who mentors 4 young riflemen as the U.S. 1st Infantry Division makes its way through North Africa, Sicily, France, Belgium, the Rhineland, Germany, and Czechoslovakia. The Saipan veteran did more than deliver one of his best performances. Noticing that his fellow actors were unfamiliar with handling weapons, he obtained M1 rifles and ammunition, allowing them to fire blanks off the set. He organized target practice and taught them how to disassemble and clean their firearms. He even encouraged them to take the rifles home at night for cleaning. Fuller's film is regarded as one of the most insightful portrayals of the European War. Marvin could be unruly and unpredictable, but his loyalty to the Marine Corps was unwavering. He took great pride in his service and missed the camaraderie of his fellow Marines. He frequently attended reunions of the 4th Marine Division Association. In 1986, he stated, "When I see a young Marine in the airport, I think about how this guy is coming into his own, that boot camp is doing its job. There's a certain strength to him standing there in uniform, with his rifle badge. Yeah, I suppose I see a bit of myself in him." Marvin, 67, passed away from a heart attack on August 29, 1987. His gravestone in Arlington reads, Lee Marvin, PFC, U.S. Marine Corps, World War II.